Hello, and welcome to the Keeping Your Marriage Hot and Holy show, where we talk all about sex and embracing intimacy through the years. And we also talk about cultivating passionate, God honoring marriages. I am Chara Taylor, your host, pastor, and sex coach. I'm here to guide you through the joys and challenges of intimacy at every stage of life. So, today I'm going to be talking about aging. So, how does aging affect our sex lives? Because one thing is for sure and two is for certain. We are still aging. And the reason I really want to talk about this is because many of you who are faithful supporters and listeners in my audience are in that stage of life where our bodies are changing drastically. uh, most of you are between the ages of 35 and maybe 65. And so it's when we find those most changes happening. All right. Many couples feel that a shift in their intimacy as they grow older is happening. And I want to reassure you that God designed sex to be a lifelong gift. It just changes with time. And that's okay. As life changes, as things change, as our bodies change, we shift, we make the adjustments, and we can continue on. We're going to look at what happens physically to our bodies, emotionally and relationally as we age. And I'm going to use this time to share some stats, solutions, encouragement, and things to help keep your marriage and your love life hot, holy, healthy, and thriving. Yep, that's what's important. So here's what happens to our bodies. So as we age, our bodies naturally go through changes that impact our sexual function and our desire. Some of the key shifts that we run into are hormonal changes. Number one, for women, estrogen levels drop during perimenopause, then during menopause, and it often, most times, in many cases, leads to vaginal dryness, decreased libido, and discomfort when you're actually in the act. All right. But for men, testosterone levels decline, which can lead to changes in erectile function and libido as well. So those are things that we need to pay attention to as we are as married men and women, especially when we're not understanding why our spouse is responding the way that they are responding, and or why you are feeling the way you are feeling. Other changes that happens is physical changes. So in the body, your blood circulation begins to slow down. This affects the arousal and it affects your responsiveness. And also, reduced muscle tone impacts your stamina and your flexibility during intimacy. That's another physical change. Certain medical conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, and depression, they have side effects that can affect sexual function. So those are some of the physical changes that we encounter. Now, and with relation to energy levels and chronic pain, you need to understand that fatigue and arthritis and other chronic conditions can make intimacy feel like a chore. Like you just got to put so much more effort into it. But it doesn't mean that it has to stop. It's simply just going to require, and I say simply, but it's going to require some creativity and some adjustments. All right. And for us not to be in our feelings, and for us not to have unrealistic expectations of our spouse. We must keep in our mind that we are aging and we are getting older and things are changing. So we need to be open-minded to change. Now let me share with you some stats real quick. All right. There was a study, a national poll on healthy aging done in 2020 that found that 40% of adults ages 65 to 80 are still sexually active. Did you know that? All right. This same study reported that 76% of seniors believe sex is an important part of a romantic relationship, showing that desire for intimacy does not just fade with age. So as we get older, we're still desiring it. All right. For men over 50, about 40% experience some form of erectile dysfunction, while about 20 to 30% of postmenopausal women report lower sex desire. Interesting. A research that was done at the University of Chicago found that couples who communicate openly about sex and intimacy are more likely to maintain an active sex life well into their later years of life. Yep, talk about it. And you know I am an advocate for talking all about it. Here's another stat for you when it comes to sex and intimacy for couples aged 30 to 49. When it comes to frequency of sexual activity, according to data from the Kinsey Institute, the average frequency of sexual intercourse in the United States is 86 times per year. So that means that approximately 1.6 times per week, individuals aged 30 to 39, they're getting it on, all right? And 69 times a year, about 1.3 times a week, those who are aged 40 to 49 are getting it on. Let me repeat that. 86 times per year. Those that are aged 30 to 39 are engaging in sex 1.6 times a week. Those that are aged 40 to 49 are having sex 69 times per year. That's about 1.3 times a week. Now, when it comes to marital status and sexual activity, there was a study that highlighted that approximately 90.2% of married couples between the ages of 30 to 40 maintain a very active sex life. That's pretty good. Yep, for those aged 30 to 40. All right. Sexual satisfaction. I found this stat to be very, very, very interesting. That a study by researchers in Birmingham and Baylor universities found that religious couples, Christian couples, those of us who engage in faith-related activities at home, report higher levels of satisfaction with their sex lives. Yep, you heard me correct. Christian couples who pray together, who are spiritually connected, report higher levels of sexual satisfaction with their sex lives. Where do you fit in that? Where do you and your spouse fit in that? So these findings, they suggest that while sexual frequency may decline with age, many couples are still very active in their sex life. That is great to know. And even beyond that, Christian couples, those who practice faith-shared practices, associate having greater sexual satisfaction. That's something to consider. How are we doing in the bed? How are we doing with our spiritual connection? It affects sexual connection. Yep, it sure does. Now let's talk about how we can adapt. Here's some good news. Intimacy does not have to diminish. It can just evolve like other things. Change is going to happen. There's no way to stop change from happening. But here's some ways that we can keep spark alive. And I know we get tired of hearing it and talking about it, but we need to embrace open communication. Talk honestly with your spouse about any physical changes and struggles that you have. Should be able to approach this with grace and not shame. But I do want to say that if you and your spouse find that you are unable to have these conversations, maybe get someone to mediate or to be kind of a central or a neutral person to help you navigate through the conversations. But we need to be open about talking about our physical changes and how it's going to affect us in our sexual life. Now, another thing that we can do is explore ways that are not necessarily involving penetration for intimacy. Intimacy is more than just intercourse. So cuddling and sensual massages and deep emotional connections, they all enhance closeness. But you have to determine with your spouse what will enhance closeness for you guys. Maybe you need to prioritize foreplay and use some lubrication. So as our bodies change, longer foreplay and using lubricants can enhance the pleasure and comfort. So we can't just be hit it and quit it and pop, lock, and rock and roll with it. No, we got to have some longer foreplay. All right. Some other things that are that's helpful is that we stay active and healthy. And yep, we've been hearing it all of our life, and we get tired of hearing it. But regular exercise, a balanced diet, and good sleep all contribute to maintaining good sexual health. Okay. I also want to encourage you to seek help when you need it. There's no shame in talking to doctors or sex coaches about struggles like erectile dysfunction or vaginal discomfort, because solutions exist. There are solutions to problems, okay? So you don't have to go through this by yourself. You don't have to experience it alone. You can get some help, and you don't have to miss out on enjoying sexual intimacy because we are aging and because the body is changing. I do want you to remember that God designed intimacy for a lifetime. There's a scripture in Proverbs 5:18 and 19 that reminds us to rejoice in the spouse of our youth, and that joy doesn't have an expiration date. Intimacy is about connection, love, and growing together in all seasons of life. Keeping it hot and holy is about connection, love, and growing together in all seasons of life. All right. So listen, here are my final thoughts for you on this. Aging does not mean the end of a fulfilling sex life. It just means that we have to adapt new ways of experiencing pleasure and intimacy. Keep communication open. Embrace change. And remember that a hot and holy marriage is possible at absolutely every age and stage. All right, that's my time, guys. Thank you for joining me today. If you love this episode, please be sure to subscribe to this podcast channel. Share this with your friends and connect with me on social media. I am on all of the social media platforms, TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and even Twitter. You can find me, and those, even on Snapchat. You can find the Hot and Holy Love Coach, Chara Taylor, so that we can connect. But until next time, I want to encourage you to keep your marriage strong, keep your hearts connected, keep your intimacy thriving. Make sure you do what you have to do to maintain a hot and holy marriage. Blessings and passion to you all. Talk to you later.